Hello and welcome back to Joe's Math Tools. In our session today, we are looking at how to list the factors of a number using multiplication. So if you want to see how this is done, let's get started. When listing the factors of a number, remember that the factors are the numbers that you multiply to get a product. And remember that in multiplication, product means the answer. So let's look at an example. So in my multiplication question, I have 4 times 5 equals 20. In this question, 4 and 5 are what we call the factors. These are the numbers that are being multiplied together. And because 20, which is the answer, is the product, then that means that my numbers 4 and 5 are factors of my product 20. So let's see how we list our factors using this information. So we're going to be listing the factors of 20. And in listing the factors of my number 20 using multiplication, I'm thinking about the different ways that I can multiply two numbers together to get 20. And in doing this process, I'm also looking to not repeat those same digits as well, or those same numbers as well. So for example, in my first step, I'm going to have 1 times 20 equals 20. That means that I'm not going to go back and now put 20 times 1 equals 20. Another way is by using 2 times 10. Now 2 times 10 also equals 20. And then the final way that I can multiply getting 20 is 4 times 5. So 4 times 5 is another way that we can multiply to get 20. Now after I've listed all of the different ways that I can think of to get 20, then these numbers that I have around my multiplication sign are what I call the factors of 20. Now, in listing your factors, one key element you need to remember is to list these numbers from least to greatest. And that will help you tremendously in being able to identify if you have a factor missing and where exactly or what even is the number range that it's missing from. And I'm going to show you that in a bit. So after I've identified my factors, I will now list them from least to greatest, which is 1, 2, 4, 5, 10, 20. So even if you didn't work out your factors the way that I did, and they may have been in different orders, just make sure that as you list them back from least to greatest. Now, listing these numbers from least to greatest does have its benefits, and I'm going to show you that right now. And if you'd watch my factors tip video, you'd have seen where I stated that factors are usually listed in pairs, unless the number that you are listing the factors of is a square number. So in that case, you will have an odd setting of numbers, and that's completely okay. So let's see how listing your numbers from least to greatest can pay off and be of benefit to you. Well, the first thing is, whenever you're listing your factors, the first factor should always be 1. So for all natural numbers, all numbers that are 1 or larger, the first factor is always 1. And then your last factor should always be the number that you are listing the factors of. And everything else in between, after 1 to 20, should be less than 20. That means whenever you're listing the factors of a number, none of the factors should be larger than the number that you are listing the factors of. So if you were tempted to put a number like 40 or a number like 60 there and you're listing the factors, you are no longer listing the factors. It's a good chance you have now confused your factors with your multiples, and that's a big issue. So remember that with your factors, the first factor is 1, the last factor is always that number, and every other number listed should be smaller than the number that I am listing the factors of. And you can see that with our listing for 20 as well. All of these numbers are less than 20. Now, what I stated earlier about your factors coming in pairs. Now, I can go back right to my factors and I can pair up each number with their respective number that they multiply to get 20. So this is the next benefit for listing your numbers from least to greatest. So I can match up 1 with 20 because we did earlier 1 times 20 equals 20. Then we have 2 times 10, and we did that earlier as well. And we have 4 times 5, which equals 20. Now, at any time if a number is missing, When I have my numbers in least to greatest, it'll help me to be able to identify exactly from what number to the next was that factor missing. So for example, if I had 5 missing, if I had 4 and I went to pair up 4 with its respective pair and the number isn't there, then I know that somewhere between the number 4 and the number 10, there is a factor that I needed to list for 20 that I did not put on my list. And I can either then think back to my 4 timetable because I know that I'm supposed to be multiplying 4 to a number to get 20. And I can now start checking through my timetable to see what number it is that I missed. So remember to line up your numbers from least to greatest and then check your numbers by matching them up with their respective pairs to make sure that if I am listing the factors of a number that is not a squared number, that I do have an even setting of numbers. So let's look at our last example. We will be listing the factors of the numbers 25. And in listing my factors for 25, again, we're looking at the different ways that we can multiply to get 25 without repeating the same numbers. So the first way that we can always multiply to get 25 is to simply multiply 25 times 1. And then the next way that we can multiply 25, you should have guessed it, which is 5 times 5. Because 5 times 5 means that 25 is a squared number. So a squared number, when you're listing your factors, will always show up when you have a number that is being multiplied to itself. That's an indication to you that the number I'm listing the factors of is a squared number, which means that I should have an odd setting of numbers. So I'm going to have one number that is not going to have a pair, and I'm going to show you why. So now I'm going to circle those numbers around my multiplication sign because those numbers are my factors. Now in listing my factors for 25, even though 5 is there twice, it will only be listed once. So this is why we usually have an odd number when listing our factors for squared numbers, because the number is only listed once even though it's multiplied to itself. So we will have 1, 5, and 25 for my factors for 25. And again, notice that 5 is only listed once, even though it is multiplied to itself. And now let's look at pairing of these numbers. So again, in pairing of my numbers, I will have 1 times 25 to give me 25. And 5 is the only number that is isolated or singled out by itself. So just remember these little quick tricks and tips as you list your factors for your numbers. Remember to always go back and check to see if there is a pair or there is a number missing from your pair, or to identify whether you're even listing the factors of a square number. So you must know that if I'm listing a square number, I should have an odd number, but if I'm listing any other number that is not square, the number of factors I have should be even and the pairs should match up with another number. So check your pairs after you have done multiplication and listing your factors to make sure that you have all of the factors that you know of listed for each number. And if you want to find out how you can identify if a number is a factor of another one, remember that's where your divisibility rules come in. And I also have a number series on divisibility listed on this website as well. So make sure you check on my page so that you can see those videos on the divisibility rule and then try them out as you list your factors as well. Okay, so I hope this video is very helpful to you. Thank you for watching, and we will see you again in the next video right here on Jules Math Tools, where we aim daily to make math easy.